As if the Dallas Cowboys weren't already a gigantic show already. Seriously, I'm a huge fan of this team, and I literally just bumped into someone at the gym who was wearing a Dallas Cowboys sweater, and I looked at him and I kind of gave him a thumbs down, and he looked at me and he's like, I don't blame you for giving me a thumbs down. Things are just not looking good for the Dallas Cowboys. They're on the cusp of cutting Amari Cooper. I'm not a big fan of that. Apparently, Antonio Brown is trying to join the team, saying this in an interview. He said maybe Jerry Jones thinks it looks sexy that I'm putting all this motivation and all this hard work and encouragement. Maybe he wants to harness some of that energy. And that's before we get to the fact that Jerry Jones is being sued by a woman for paternity. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. Before we get to the content, we're giving away $500 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. We're giving away an additional $500 to a follower of ours on Instagram. And in the event that you think I talk too much, I usually condense these videos into shorts that I post onto my TikTok and Instagram account. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? For those of you guys that don't know who Jerry Jones is, he is the mastermind behind the most valuable franchise in all of sports. Yes, for some reason, the Dallas Cowboys are the highest valued franchise in all of sports. And to be honest, that has nothing to do with the product that they put on the football field. That has more to do with the Jones family's brilliance when it comes to marketing the Dallas Cowboys brand. And props to the Jones family, because I do think Jerry Jones is one of the biggest innovators when it comes to the world of business and marketing. I think he has a brain that was far ahead of his time, and we can make a video on that a different day, but recently I haven't really been on board with some of his decisions. More specifically, I wasn't on board with the fact that he decided to pay Ezekiel Elliott a significant amount of money, which is going to result in him eventually needing to release Amari Cooper in order to retain Ezekiel Elliott, despite Zeke technically being the second best running back on the Dallas Cowboys this year. I'm gonna stop rambling about the gloominess of my favorite team. We need to discuss another poor Jerry Jones decision. According to the Dallas Morning News, a woman is suing Jerry Jones and is alleging that the Dallas Cowboys owner paid her mother to conceal that he was her biological father.
You are not the father.
So this article opens up by saying that a 25-year-old woman is suing Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, alleging that the billionaire paid her mother hundreds of thousands of dollars in 1996 to conceal that he was the girl's biological father, a secret that the lawsuit says that she has carried her entire life. I know this is sensitive information, but I have to admit, that sounds like the most Jerry Jones thing that he'd ever do. I know there's not any evidence in there, but it's just based off of my analysis of the man from afar. It does seem like something he would do. But the story gets even crazier. Listen to this, man. At the age of 1, the girl was bound to secrecy by a confidentiality agreement signed by her mother, according to the lawsuit. Jones denied in settlement documents that he was the biological father of the child, but he paid the woman $375,000 in exchange for confidentiality, and had an Arkansas friend and lawyer named Donald Jack set up 2 trusts for the girl linked to her and her mother, keeping Jones's paternity a secret, according to the lawsuit, a copy of which was obtained by ESPN. Could you just imagine being this woman? Like, I don't hear a lot of cases like this. I don't know how they went about raising this young girl. I don't know if the girl asked, hey mom, who's my father? And the mother just made up some story about your father went to the store one day to get milk and never came back, or if the mother actually told the girl that, hey, your father's actually Jerry Jones and this nice house that you see is as a result of your existence. Now, a Texas judge apparently ordered the case sealed this week after a motion filed by Jones's lawyer. The Dallas Morning News first reported on the lawsuit earlier on Wednesday. Alexandra Davis, who lives in Washington, D.C., filed her lawsuit against Jones, now 79, in Dallas's County court last Thursday. It says that Jones courted her mother, Cynthia Davis Spencer, in 1995 when she was working at the American Airlines ticket counter in Little Rock, Arkansas. Spencer was estranged from her husband at the time, the lawsuit says. Now, here's the interesting thing. We actually get an idea of this woman's upbringing because it says in this ESPN article that Alexandra Davis has lived her life fatherless and in secret and in fear that if she should tell anyone who her father was, she and her mother would lose financial support or worse. The lawsuit alleges that the plaintiff had to endure the endless public profiles of her father and siblings while forced to remain secret to everyone, including her closest confidants, it says. Now, the scary part is, as of now, at the time that I'm recording this video, a spokesman for Jerry Jones declined to comment on this entire situation. Now, Davis's attorney also declined to comment as well. This is where it gets wild, man. Davis has asked a court to be recognized as Jones's daughter and to be released from the confidentiality agreement that her mother agreed to when she was a baby. It's hard to imagine what could be less in the best interest of a child than to enforce agreements that leave a child without a father and which prevent or legally punish a child from even stating who her father is, the lawsuit says. The lawsuit alleges that Jones abandoned and shunned Davis and forced her to live in secrecy after her birth in Little Rock on December 16th, 1996. I guess you could say that Jerry Jones 100% abandoned Davis, but at the same time, at least he gave them more than enough money to live a life with. I understand it's still not the greatest thing a human could do, but in comparison to some of the other stories that you hear where there are unfortunate cases where there's single mothers out there and they don't get the luxury of getting paid $400,000 almost to raise their child. And there definitely are cases of those women not knowing who their father is. The article continues to say that the combined effects of the aforementioned agreements and Cynthia's divorce proceedings resulted in the plaintiff never having a legal father. To add incredible insult to injury, the plaintiff has had to spend their entire life hiding and concealing who her real father is. Defendant Jones's only role in the plaintiff's life to date, other than to shun her, has been to coerce her from ever disclosing his identity. Now, the story actually has a happy ending because Davis seems to be doing fairly well as an individual. She has quote unquote excelled academically and professionally. She now works as an aide to US Rep Ronnie Jackson in Texas after working for 14 months in the White House during Trump's presidency, which I don't care where you stand politically. If you are working for the president, that's pretty freaking awesome. That is a remarkable achievement, and at least I'm happy that this woman got to a good place in life. It continues to state that after Davis's birth, Davis, Spencer, and Jones worked together to conceal his paternity. So the mother was included in this. I wonder what this girl said to the mother as a result of finding out this information. This is so up. Faced with the literal existence of plaintiff and the public and personal ramifications that would result therefrom, defendant Jerry Jones, forever the deal-making entrepreneur that he is, decided to do what he always does: make a deal to assure that he would not be publicly or privately identified and or declared as plaintiff's father, the lawsuit says. Davis Spencer was going through a divorce at the time, the lawsuit alleges. Defendant Jones, with the help of lawyers, knowing that Cynthia was now a single mother with a very young child and an uncertain financial future at best, set out to negotiate a settlement that would exchange money for silence, quote unquote hush money. Jones is alleged to have set up two trusts that the lawsuit alleges contain the hush money payment and the hush money terms, including $375,000 paid to Davis Spencer. Jones agreed to quote unquote provide through indirect means and with his personal identity hidden ongoing financial support for Cynthia and plaintiffs so long as Cynthia remained silent about the fact that he was the plaintiff's father, the lawsuit alleges. If Cynthia failed to maintain such silence, the support would end at defendant Jones's discretion and Cynthia would supposedly be in breach of the deal. This wouldn't be so bad, but a lot of sketchy stuff has been happening with the Dallas Cowboys lately. Last month, they came to a $2.4 million confidential settlement with 4 members of their cheerleading squad who accused a now former team executive of voyeurism in their locker room in September of 2015. So you have to admit that the Cowboys have been very sketchy recently. Now, we have some additional information in regards to the terms of the deal. Apparently, in exchange for confidentiality, a lump sum payment of $375,000 would be paid to Cynthia Davis once the settlement was executed. executed, and 2 trusts were set up and funded by Jones for Alexandra Davis, court documents said. Alexandra Davis was to receive quote-unquote certain monthly, annual, and special funding from the trusts until she turned 21, and yearly lump sums when she turned 24, 26, and 28. The grantor of the trusts was Jack, which the lawsuit alleges was to hide Jones's identity. The lawsuit said that Jones barred Alexandra Davis, who was 1 year old at the time of the settlement, from ever seeking to legally establish paternity. This is absolutely insane. On one hand, it is pretty terrible for the woman growing up not knowing who her father is. Did Jerry Jones do the right thing by her? I would say this could be a significantly worse situation than it is, just being fair over here. Jerry Jones could have been completely absent if he really wanted to, and at least he set up the family financially. Now, obviously, the ideal situation was owning up to what happened, telling his wife what happened, and trying to have some sort of presence in this woman's life. That's not the path that he decided to take, but thankfully, it seems like the girl ended up okay. It's really interesting that she is deciding to sue for paternity right now. Maybe it's because she believes that at some point, sooner rather than later, Jerry Jones is probably going to pass away, and she felt like this was the ideal time to do it. I personally would like to see how the girl looks like. Like, if there was a picture so I could compare the girl's face to Jerry Jones, then it would help a little bit more, but it doesn't seem like there's anything on the internet currently. So all I could really comment on this, aside from what I said so far, is this story is absolutely insane. And this NFL offseason has gotten off to a really crazy start, and leave it to Jerry Jones to distract us all from the fact that 2 former Pro Bowl quarterbacks got traded. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this absurd story. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.